Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. John Campea here. Welcome to my movie vlog, and I wanted to give my quick review of the brand new Netflix series, Castlevania Season 1. Now, as the name would suggest, this show is based on the video game series. Now, some people are saying that this game is actually based on Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. And while there are certainly some building blocks there that this story builds upon, it's clearly its own thing, so don't get confused. So the basic idea of Castlevania is this. There's this bright, beautiful, super intelligent, tough as nails blonde girl who finds and seeks out Count Dracula's castle because she believes she can learn a lot from him that she can use to then go and benefit humanity. Now, Dracula is very much, I don't do people. But nevertheless, he's really impressed with her guts and gumption, and she seems to be the one thing about humanity that he starts to like. Now, eventually, Dracula and the girl fall in love and get married, and then sometime later, while Dracula's off on a business trip of some sorts, a bunch of villagers and the local town bishop decides, hey, this girl's a witch, and they take her and they burn her at the stake. Meanwhile, Dracula returns, only to discover they've killed the love of his life, which makes him go mental. Completely broken by the loss of his wife. The one thing that he thought had any value in humanity makes him completely lose it. And he tells all the country folk, you got 1 year, and then I'm unleashing an army of hell on all of you to wipe you all out. Now that's just basically the setup of the show that happens very, very early on in the first episode. Now along the way from that point, we meet some key characters. Number 1, we met Trevor Beaumont. Now, he's the last of a line of the family Beaumont who have a long history of battling evil and the forces of darkness. However, some time ago, the church discredited them and excommunicated them and branded them as, lunatics. We also meet this small group of people known as the Speakers. Now, think of them kind of as monks. These really good-hearted sort of monks, I don't know how else to describe them, whose only mission in life is to go around and help the people. Anyway, these Speakers believe in an old legend that under the city is a sleeping hero, somebody who can be awoken and will rise up and help the people in their time of need, and that basically sets up Castlevania. Let me start with a bunch of things that I really love about this show. First of all, the art and animation is just gorgeous. Like, I loved watching, and the colors were so rich. Like, you'd think that in something that has a setting that's so dark and depressing and terrifying wouldn't have, really rich colors. Now, I'm not saying they're bright colors, but the color palette they use in the show is so rich, and it's like every frame is a work of art, and it was just beautiful to look at. Another thing is that I'm not usually one who notices music all that much while the show is playing or while the movie is playing. I usually think about it afterwards, but I was really taken in by how well done the music was. It fits all the scenes and fits all the circumstances of the show perfectly, adding to the emotional tension in each scene. It was just really well put together. And a little bit earlier, I mentioned the Trevor Beaumont character, and he's a fantastic character. He's everything I kind of like in my heroes in these shows. He's deeply flawed, he's a bit of a dick, but he's got a good heart and he's a legit badass all at the same time. He's got a really nice balance of belief and faith, but also, grim and skepticism all at the same time that makes for this really well put together character that you like watching on the screen. And how they manage Dracula is fantastic. He is both, at first, something that you can see sparks of hope in, but that quickly fades away to this terrifying, nightmarish vision of a pure demon that you would fear and run from your life from. And that's the Dracula they gave us. And if that wasn't there, if Dracula wasn't so menacing, if Dracula wasn't so terror-inducing in you, then I really don't think the narrative of the story works. But because those things are there, the narrative gets pushed forward because of that fear and dread, and that's what makes it work. And the last thing I'll mention that I really like about this show, which will lead into the things that I thought maybe the show could have done a little bit better, is that it's a great setup. Season 1 sets up the story beautifully. It really does. By the time the first season was over, I was like, okay, now I'm ready for this show to start. Unfortunately, that kind of leads me into some of the things that I thought they could have done better with this show. Number 1 is that the entire first season just feels like the setup, like the initial setup. Really, it felt like episode 1 of a regular TV season. By the time the season 1 ends, I feel like this was a great ending, but it feels like a great ending to episode 1 of a TV show, not season 1. I kind of feel like they rushed things at the same time. Look, I mentioned a little bit earlier that Dracula and this girl fall in love, right? But we don't see that. Basically, Dracula and the girl meet, cutscene to a year or two later, Dracula and the girl are married, and they're desperately in love. And because we never spent any time with them, as characters, seeing them fall in love, understanding their bond together, and not just understanding it, you can tell us something and we can understand it, but experiencing them bonding, then when the girl dies, I really didn't feel anything for Dracula other than, oh my God, this guy's super pissed. And it wasn't just Dracula. There were a number of moments in season 1 where I felt like, oh, now this happens, now this happens, now this happens, now this happens. Whereas a regular movie or a regular TV show would have taken time to allow us as the audience to experience those things so we can get the proper emotional attachments that the storytellers want us to have. And they just either didn't have time or didn't feel it was necessary, so they just really rushed the story along. And a big part of that, I'm sure, is the third thing I thought they should have done better. Season 1, if you can call it season 1, was 4 episodes, 4 30-ish minute episodes. Basically, season 1 is about the length of a regular movie. I think if they even just made this a 6 or 7 episode season 1, a lot of those issues about rushing things along, not being able to have time to get emotionally attached to certain characters, all those sorts of things, I think those problems would have been worked out pretty easy with just the addition of 2 or 3 more episodes. But even with all those nitpicks about season 1 of Castlevania, I would recommend checking out the show. Like I said, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a terrific setup. The monsters and, Dracula himself are absolutely terrifying. At the same time, we get these terrific heroes that we meet along the way. I can't wait to see where this show goes, even though I felt like it's rushed along and did a few things improperly. But it was announced that Netflix has greenlit season 2, and season 2 is going to have more episodes than just the 4 we had in season 1. So that's something to look forward to. Castlevania is available on Netflix right now. And really, since it's only 4 episodes at about 30 minutes an episode, what have you got to lose? I suggest checking it out. I think overall you're going to like it. Anyway, that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for checking out my review of Castlevania. While you're here, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you're following me on Facebook and on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, bye-bye.